My name is Macy and I'm 25. I assigned 2 accoutrements at a bakery city and advise piano part-time out of our tiny apartment. It's not glamorous, but it's abundant to augment my 7-year-old daughter, Willow, and she's the alone acumen I accumulate going. Willow's got these long, aerial fingers. Every time they blow the keys, it's like the piano listens. She doesn't apprehend music. Not yet. But a back she plays by ear, you'd anticipate she was built in for it. I consistently told her, "Your fingers are magic, baby." But in my family, abracadabra meant annihilation unless it came from the appropriate person. My mom, Jolene, consistently had this icy smile like a knife that capital to be a mirror. And my sister, Vanessa, well, she was the aureate one, cheerleader, and adorableness pageant. Mom alleged her absolute pearl. I was the one who cried too much. Amuse, subscribe to our approach, and share with us in comments from the area you are watching this video. We hadn't apparent them in over a year. Not a back I larboard my parents' abode afterwards, they approved to argue me to let Vanessa accession Willow properly. Because allegedly, actuality, a distinct mom who formed like a barbarian made me unfit. But a few weeks ago, Vanessa showed up at the bakery with her affected accent, and that abject accent that made me appetite to scream. Mace, mom's a lure for you. She said she's changed. I should have accepted it was bait, but Willow asked, "Do Grandma and Auntie think of me?" With this achievement in her articulation, I hadn't heard in ages. So, I gave in. We collected out at their abode on Sunday. It was the aforementioned algid abode I remembered, polished, hollow, and reeking of big-ticket candles and article rotten. Underneath, Willow was abashed a tiny allowance she had fabricated a accord armlet for Vanessa. Aback, Vanessa opened the door. She gave me that aforementioned dank smile. A fresh angled downward to Willow. Well, you're taller now. Let's achieve you're smarter too. I bit the central of my audacity and said nothing. I told myself, just survive today. Mom came in a Christmas bathrobe like she was royalty. She looked at Willow like one able to attend to dust on marble. "Ah, you brought the child. She's your granddaughter," I said. I don't anamnesis voting for that title. Willow whispered, "Hi, Grandma." Mom, aloof, angry, and absolved, adjoined to the music room. "That's back," Vanessa said. "Willow plays piano, right? Appear on, let's apprehend you." I hesitated. "She's not accessible for please," Mom interrupted. "If she's as accomplished as you anticipate she is, we ability as able-bodied get a beam out of it." Willow sat at the admirable piano. Her fingers hovered over the keys, trembling. She played. A few confined of Claire de Lune. It wasn't perfect, but it was pure. You could feel the nerves, but additionally the heart. I was so proud. But before I could speak, Vanessa airtight at the piano lid down, hard. Willow's scream tore through the alley like glass. Blood. So abundant blood. Her tiny fingers were trapped beneath the abundant lid, her nails already axed purple. I rushed forward, screaming, "What are you doing? Get off her!" Vanessa stepped back with a smirk. "Oops, didn't see her fingers there." "And Mom," she laughed. "That's what happens when anemic things pretend to accept talent," she said, sipping tea. Those fingers had no purpose anyway. I pulled Willow into my arms, shaking, her easily abashed, joined my shirt, claret assimilation through. "Huh? You're monsters," I whispered. Mom aloft an eyebrow. "We're realists clashing with you." A fresh dad, who had been bashful until now, peeked his head in and said, "Are we done with the dramatics? Macy, if you don't like how we do things here, you can leave. You're 25, not a baby." That night, I didn't aloof airing away. I took the broken armlet off Vanessa's wrist as we left, and the article airtight central me. Not rage, not sorrow, an colder article that doesn't heal. I didn't Betty bye for 3 nights. Every time I burn my eyes, I see Willow's face. Not a back, she cried, but a back she looked confused. She kept alluring me. "Mommy, why did Auntie do that?" And I had no acknowledgement that didn't absorb the chat's evil. The burning affliction doctor said 2 of her fingers were fractured. She couldn't authority a pencil, abundant beneath comedy piano. Her appropriate duke had to be splined, and she flinched every time an additional like accomplished a join her. I emailed my piano acceptance and canceled all acquaint indefinitely. But what I didn't abolish was my plan. I alleged a man named Curtis Langley, a clandestine music babysitter and high-end piano adjudicator in our state. He'd already offered me a job afterwards watching me advise at a kids' alms event. I'd be angry if it went backward then, abashed of actuality away from Willow. Now I asked for a favor. "Curtis," I said, "I accept a piano I charge you to appraise." But added importantly, "I appetite you to accommodate an adolescent who deserves a shot." The day he agreed to come, I arranged up Willow's bandaged duke in a cuff and brought her to a bounded abbey area where they kept an old cocked piano in the basement. I didn't tell her why. I helped her blow her acceptable duke on the keys and whispered, "Play what you remember, alike if it's aloof one hand." She looked scared. "You're still magic," I said. She played aloof her larboard duke shaky, hesitant, but deliberate. The music was lopsided, but so achingly admirable that I saw Curtis blink added than once. He didn't say annihilation then, but the next day he emailed me. "There's a clandestine armamentarium for able but afflicted children. I've submitted Willow's case. Expect a letter." 2 weeks later, Willow was offered an abundant scholarship to a celebrated Music Adjustment Institute, one that focused on analysis through complete accurately for children with trauma. She smiled again. But I wasn't done. You see, Mom and Dad had been hosting their anniversary legacy gala, some aloof accident area. They invited investors and artists and acted like their aftermost name agitated weight. Vanessa consistently performed an article to prove how able the ancestors were. This year, the bright was the ability of expression, and I fabricated abiding their announcement would go up in ashes. Vanessa was set to accomplish on the aforementioned admirable piano that had ashamed my daughter's fingers. Mom had arrived the city's arts council, sponsors, alike accompaniment reps. They accepted applause. Instead, they got silence. Because aback Vanessa opened the piano lid to play, the keys were gone, actually removed. In their abode was a letter laminated and taped to the alveolate bed of the instrument. The letter was active by Willow in artless writing, and it read, "Dear Grandma and Auntie, you said my fingers had no purpose. That's okay. Now your piano doesn't either." The allowance froze. Mom stood up fuming, face purple. Vanessa screamed, "This is vandalism!" But a fresh Curtis stepped forward. Yes, he was there too. In a tailored suit, he said loudly, "As the adjudicator for the Heritage Fund, I'd like to advertise that this ancestors is clearly Butterfingers from admission accommodation for corruption of the accessory and abolition of cultural mentorship." Gasps, cameras, phones, Lath associates murmuring, and Dad. He assuredly stood alone to bang his albino canal off the table and mutter, "This is all your fault, Jolene." Their angel burst in 10 abnormal flat. I wasn't alike there, I was home. With Willow. Allowance her convenant scales on a new donated keyboard, the affectionate with a blaze up keys and complete analysis modules. She looked up and asked, "Did you do something, Mommy?" I kissed her forehead and said, "No, baby. Your fingers did." The account advanced faster than I expected. By morning, their bright abasement was already abrupt and stitched into amusing media. Stories. "Bounded art ancestors abashed for abuse," the account read. Mom's fundraising ally pulled out. Vanessa's face was removed from the accessible arts action she'd been cyberbanking on. Alike the bounded academy she occasionally lectured at, appear a account adage they were reassessing all affiliations. And the best part, they didn't apperceive who did it. Because the letter had appeared from Willow, and Curtis had alone said a adumbrative filed the complaint. I was airy in the accomplished booty-bottom word aloof how I capital it. But invisibility doesn't aftermost forever. 3 canicule later, there was a beating on my accommodation door. I opened it to see Dad. No fury, no complacent arrogance, aloof. Blackout and a side limp, like his apple was unraveling beneath his feet. He didn't ask to appear in. He aloof stood there and said, "You absolutely abhorrence us that much?" I stared at him not with hate, but article colder detachment. "Is that what this is about?" I asked. "Hate? You ashamed us. You fabricated your mother cry." She fabricated my babe drain and you watched. He clenched his jaw. You should accept. Appear to us. Talked. You told me to leave. Said I was 25 and not a baby. So I grew up. Grown-ups break things. He looked down. The letter. Was that Willow? I smiled. The one you said had no purpose? Yeah, that's her purpose now, Justice. He larbored after addition word. But the fallout wasn't over. Weeks passed. Willow's Duke began healing with therapy. She could assuredly anchor a beanery after trembling. She laughed more, slept better. But afresh, I got a call. It was from a journalist, Addition, who'd been accoutrement the Bright scandal. She asked if I'd be accommodating to allege on the almanac about the baneful ability central my family's home. I hesitated. Afresh, she said, we've accustomed added bearding bellatrist from above piano acceptance of your mother, belief of slaps on the wrist, exact insults, shame. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. Instead, I emailed her a photograph, one I'd taken, back I was 15. It was of my own bloated Duke from area Mom had airtight them into the keys for missing tempo. Beneath the photo, I wrote one line. She didn't alpha with my daughter. The adventure went viral. Mom's name was clearly adjourned from the Bounded Arts Lathboard. Vanessa absent her allurement to a European showcase. The ancestors' flat, their pride and joy, had to shut down indefinitely for restructuring. They approved to alarm me, argued, with me, and even showed up al fresco my home once. I never answered, but I did mail them something. A shoebox. Central was the aforementioned brace of glitter-covered piano slippers. Willow had the capital to abrasion the night Vanessa airtight. Her fingers. They were clean. But blimp inside, instead of tissue, were two things. One, a photo of Willow. Captivation her new music affidavit with a caption. She fabricated it. Two, a distinct artificial piano key, the one Vanessa never got to columnist. At the gala, I never heard from them again. And Willow, she started basic her own songs. Sometimes she names them things like Sunrise or Quiet Strength, but my admired one, she alleged it 10 fingers, 1 future, because the Apple anticipation they'd burst her. But they alone taught her how to comedy louder. Amuse subscribe to our approach and acquaint us in comments from area. Are you watching this?